Nation, Trey Strelko here. This is the Sons of UCF Live. Adam here, back this week. Leo, it's been a minute.
It has. I'm surprised you recognize me.
Need a name tag.
Man,
where you been, Leo? Where you been?
Well, first stop was Portugal. I had a day layover there, so I spent the day in Lisbon. That was great, and then landed in Rome. After Rome, Florence. After Florence, back to Rome again, and then Naples. And I have no words. Once in a lifetime experience, like I told Adam earlier, is just great. Just I feel refreshed, to be honest. I know I sound sick. Apologize for that, but
I'm refreshed, but I'm hacking up a lug.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, Adam, has Leo missed anything? Anything been going on?
Yeah, I caught him up quickly before we started the show. He was really surprised at Joe Girardi, so we'll get into that maybe later afterwards. He was really surprised at that one, but it's good to have Leo back. It's good to have the band back together. We still miss UCF Mike, who's off on assignment as always on Thursdays, but good to have Leo back. Good to have a little sense of normalcy back here at the Sons of UCF Live.
Is that a new polo shirt? Does that look like anthracite, possibly?
It is anthracite, Trace. I mean, there's some perks to being on the Sons of UCF. New polos maybe coming soon. So not to everybody, but some of you select individuals like you, Trace, and you, Leo, and maybe Mike.
Very nice. For Brian W. Peterson, is there a gold version of this new polo?
I don't look good in gold, and I suspect neither of you do either. So there is no gold appearing. This is anthracite. I'm not sure. I think Christian Simmons is an anthracite fan, so maybe this is channeling our inner Christian Simmons.
Yeah, well, somebody has to.
Or he's a pewter guy, right? He's a big pewter guy.
Yeah, big pewter guy. All right, we got a busy show. We're going to talk about the new baseball head coach. Sound bites from earlier this week. I dropped on my Twitter at SignPez. NBA draft in just a week. It's funny to be talking about that within the confines of the Sons of UCF Hour. By the way, Adam, tough on your Miami Heat, but a good showing this season.
Yeah, unexpected finals run, a little fun, a couple of months there. They played hard, but Denver was just a really good team, and it was clear that they had the size inside. Miami could not compete. Nice, fun run. Good to always support your team. Same with the Panthers. Obviously, their run ended as well. So a good, fun couple of months. Remind you why you love sports, because every now and again something really surprising happens, and it brings us all together. So good, fun time. And we turn the page to next season, and Damian Lillard, maybe. Leo, Dame.
That's a name. Athletic Director Terry Mohajir dropping some news today on his Twitter account. Just 10 season tickets remain until UCF is sold out of its allotment. A lot of buzz now around this moving into the Big 12, and he's trying to tease up who's going to be that person that gets that last season ticket or sets of season tickets. So we knew it was going to happen, but I mean we're just in June and they'll have sold out the allotment. Plus, you'd expect a stronger visiting section this year, though they have released limited amount of single game tickets per game as well for the upcoming schedule.
Yeah, look, packed a bounce house, right? I mean, I think this is obviously a bellwether year for UCF, first time in the Big 12. So I suspect those 10. I think I saw there was 4 left. I think somebody had tweeted out that.
Oh, is that the new number?
Already been taken. I was a fan. I don't know if it's accurate though. So looks like some of those tickets have gone. But if you're on the fence, it's a great opportunity to get out there, and then maybe a good investment as well. So.
Very interesting. Terry Mohajir also, he did a little media availability after the presser with new UCF baseball head coach Rich Wallace. And one of the questions he was asked about was this tourist development tax. If you've been following this, UCF is lined up at that trough along with the usual suspects, the Convention Center, Camping World Stadium, the Magic Stadium. They all want some of that tourist development tax. UCF requesting a mere $177 million. They'll use it for the Athletics Village, stadium upgrades. And UCF will be making its pitch Friday. And I asked him, what is UCF's compelling case on this one?
What is UCF's compelling case for those dollars?
I would say is we're on the move, and we need help, just like anybody else, to build a championship caliber Power 5 program.
All right, he said some more after that. It was a longer soundbite, but we need help. I hope that the presentation, the PowerPoint slides are, a little more interesting than just that. Adam, what do you think? What do you think chances are here for UCF get some of these dollars?
I mean, it's really hard to say. I've obviously, I think, there's an opportunity to at least request the funds, and I know there was some talk about that, but UCF is well within the rights based on what the tax is designed for. I know there's some bigger projects that are out there, right? I know the Orlando Dreamers is out there. There's a Camping World,
what, 900 million?
yeah, Camping World Stadium upgrades is out there. So a couple different sports items out there. So I don't know how to handicap what'll be selected, but UCF's got a smaller amount from that standpoint. So, we'll see where it goes, but obviously we know that we need the funds to compete long-term in the Big 12 for UCF. So, let's hope Timo has his PowerPoint slides ready. He's got the clicker with enough batteries in it to be able to move from slide to slide, get all the specifics down. I imagine he'll have a coffee cup in his hand. It's typically his move. So
Yeah.
let's see how that goes.
Leo, he talked about the opportunity increased hotel rooms, and I would say this, it's fair, right? That these Big 12 teams, and on the schedule this year, it's Baylor, it's West Virginia on the home slate, Oklahoma State. These are teams that travel well for bowl games and other regular season games. So I think he's got a case there that they are going to put some more people into hotel rooms than you might expect from, say, Temple or Tulsa.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And when he does make his pitch on Friday, he's probably gonna hound on that a lot. Just the fact that we're in the Power Five is enough to actually get us those dollars. So I'm praying as a student that it happens, and it's not as much as the Orlando Dreamers are asking for, or that renovation for Camping World Stadium. So hopefully he gets it done.
Orlando Dreamers, got to have a better name. I mean, in case for that. I saw Dolly's comment that it's not Terry, it's someone else, right? That may be the presenter on that. But no doubt a strong UCF contingent will be there for that, and sometime before they make those announcements. But again, they've got a tough road here going up against the convention center, which has always got its hand out asking for more money and expansion, and some of the other big players in this. Maybe they get a sprinkling of money, and that's better than nothing, and every dollar is going to count for UCF. Right. We're just a week away from an unusual occurrence in these parts, right? A rare, never happened, right? The UCF's going to have a top round NBA draft pick. I mean, can you feel that buzz out?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, Trace, to have that sort of out there and really be following the draft closely. I know some folks out there are Magic fans or Heat fans or fans of whatever team you are, and you maybe follow from that standpoint. But to keep hearing Taylor Hendricks, UCF on ESPN, or when you're watching something, really draws your attention. So it's a lot of fun, I think, for all of us as fans. And I know there's a lot of celebration potentially planned for Taylor, and a lot of folks rooting for him. So it is good to have somebody in the mix and someone to root for and kind of cheer for as the draft approaches next week.
Yeah, Taylor Hendricks, as a UCF alum going into the NBA, I look at it as, having almost like a figure, and going into pro sports from the UCF is just, I don't even know how to describe it, to be honest. It's kind of indescribable to go, to have somebody finally from UCF in the NBA. That's never really, yes, Taco Fall, but guess what? Taylor Hendricks actually has a future to be in the NBA for years and years to come. So I'm really, really excited about that one.
Leo, when we watched him over the course of the season, you had opportunity, as I did, to interview him and ask questions after games. At what point in the season did you feel this guy is probably one and done for UCF?
It was after, I would say, the Memphis game. I think that's when his draft stock really started to pick up steam after that game, just because of where the team was standing at then and there. His performances from, actually there was a game early in the season against Mizzou that he hit a really clutch 3-pointer, and that really, stuck. And I was like, wow, like this kid, he has the guts to do that. There was a lot of criticism throughout the season. Oh, well, he can't do it he can't take a game by the throat during the AAC. You know what I'm saying? And that's all talk, but he does have the guts to, take the game to the opponent. So, no, I think that after that Memphis game, his draft stock just started picking up steam, and rightfully so. He showed it throughout the whole entire season. He was NBA caliber.
Well, he's been invited by the NBA to be in their green room for the draft just 1 week out on Thursday. Adam, you mentioned the Magic earlier. They are in the mix for Taylor Hendricks. Let's bring in the Magic beat writer for the Orlando Sentinel, Kobe Price, to talk a little bit about the Magic. Kobe, welcome into Sons of UCF Live.
Appreciate you guys having me on. How's it going?
Doing well, doing well. You know UCF, right? We don't get to talk NBA draft and UCF, so it's good to have you on. Magic coming off the 34-48 season, 7th and 11th picks. First, for our audience, no doubt some NBA fans in the mix there. Tell us about the Orlando Magic coming off this season and some needs that you see that they have.
Yeah, the Magic entered the draft with the 6th and 11th pick in the draft. I guess a week from today. You said the record 34-48, but doesn't really the record doesn't fully reflect the season that they had. I think they finished out 29-28 over the last 57 games or something along those lines. Once they got healthier, they did take a significant step in their development as a group. So now, kind of going forward, what they're probably going to look in this draft is, young players that can kind of help push forward, the overall development they've had under Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., Markelle Fultz, the list goes on of the young players they already have. So in terms of needs, Jeff Weltman said it himself, they have a lot of needs. They're not that good yet. I think that was close to his quote, but, shooting and just overall depth, especially in the front court, are things that, if they don't target in the draft, whether it's free agency trades, that I think that would help them out a lot.
Kobe, obviously, we're talking a lot about Taylor Hendricks. As you've talked to scouts and sort of NBA types, is there a current NBA comp that you've heard for Taylor Hendricks? Who does his game maybe most represent who's in the NBA today?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't really been speaking about Taylor Hendricks with other people. I haven't really asked more so comps, more so just what I ask about is like what they think of him, what stands out about him. If you're putting me on the spot in terms of comps, it's hard for me to come up with one off the top of my head. But I know he has a skill set that several NBA teams would value. The ability to alter shots at the rim, switch out, defend, knock down threes, knock down open shots. The entire league is looking for players like him, regardless if you're rebuilding or if you're contending or somewhere in the middle. His skill set and what he brings to the table at that size is valuable. So that's he's going to be. I would be very surprised. I would actually be shocked if he was not a top 10 pick. I would be willing to say he's going to be probably top 8.
Wow, Kobe. Now that you mentioned, about his draft stock, I kind of wanted to get in more in depth in that. When did he really actually start getting into the radar of NBA teams as far as, top 10 pick? Because throughout the whole season, we heard about Taylor Hendricks, maybe being one and done, but we weren't really certain until more towards the back end of the season when we started hearing, okay, he's got a good chance of being a lottery. How does that happen, for a college player to just kind of leap into that and, just kind of break that down?
Yeah, it's tough for me because a lot of times when I'm watching the college season, I'm not like plugged in terms of like watching every game or following the storylines of the season. A lot of times I actually catch up on it after the fact. But I started to hear Taylor's name outside of just watching him myself in NBA circles a little bit more. I would say probably like February, to be honest. Maybe late January to early to mid-February, somewhere in that range. I think it's kind of going back to what I said earlier. Once he was showcasing that skill set a little bit more in conference play, and they're able to see that he's able to do it at that level consistently, I think that's when teams are starting to realize, at this size, this ability, this skill set, not a lot of players at that size can knock down shots, knock down threes the way he did, and then defend the paint, alter shots at the rim, be switchable on defense, and just be a heady player in that sense. And that's something that, like I said, regardless of what team you are at, you're going to value him. And that's why, as the season goes on, he goes from, potential first-round pick to potential, top 20 pick. It's a lottery pick. Now we're talking about him as potential top 6, top 7, top 8 pick. I would be, like, again, shocked if he wasn't top 10 pick.
You've been talking about his strengths and it be a good fit for any number of teams. In what in particular do you think makes him a good fit for the Magic?
Going back to the size, the Magic, they very much value positional size. Even if he's not a starter from day one, because they already have Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero, and Wendell Carter Jr. there, or even if he is, because of his ability to, like I said, switch out, guard fours, guard threes, maybe guard some small ball fives, you can kind of put him alongside any combination of the Magic's already existing front court, the three players, Franz, Paulo, and Wendell I mentioned earlier. And you don't feel like you don't have to fit him into the box. He kind of enhances this flexible, positionless play that they like to put out there. And then for the Magic, he would help open up the floor. I mentioned shooting as one of their needs. Being able to space the floor, complement the main guys already, that would be big for them. And when Wendell Carter wasn't on the floor, rim protection was something they lacked of their front court players, and that's something that I know he would provide for them. So in terms of fit for the Magic, he could fill in so many different areas without taking away from what they've already built.
Kobe, obviously UCF going into the Big 12 this upcoming season, which obviously from a college basketball standpoint is probably the best conference out there. Bigger picture, how big a deal is it, do you think, for UCF as a school and a basketball program to have a guy who's a potential lottery pick? How much do you think that helps UCF sort of build their brand and maybe, continue to make inroads into recruiting as you think about going further in the Big 12? How much does Taylor Hendricks, being a guy that may be a top 10 pick, help that out?
It could be significant just because, especially if Taylor Hendricks, starts out his career well, whether it's to be an all rookie first or second team guy, just as solid from the jump, that's going to catch recruits' attention. And for teams to see that, hey, he did, like Taylor Hendricks did it, and then recruits, maybe you get better recruits at UCF, then you start getting, for UCF, that can boost their profile. And then NBA teams will start catching on like, hey, UCF is a place that we need to continue to check out. And they're playing against, a higher level of competition basketball wise. So it's almost like a cycle of Taylor Hendricks help raise the profile, get better players. You're in a better conference. Now NBA teams are going to be more locked into those games. They're already going to be watching a lot of Big 12 games, period. So now you're kind of, I guess, going through the cycle of more eyeballs are going to be paying attention to you.
Kobe, as we were talking about UCF and the Orlando Magic here. There's been kind of a lack of excitement, I guess you could say, for UCF, because of their basketball program moving forward. And, going into the new conference, it's going to get even more competitive now. But what can a relationship with an NBA team, I feel like maybe the Magic and UCF don't really have a connection, but I don't know if that could help maybe create to have UCF become a basketball school per se, where do you see that relationship and how do you think, UCF can advance to become that basketball school?
Well, I'll say this: if the Magic draft Taylor Hendricks, that would be a great step to cultivating that relationship, which I will say I do very much believe is in play. Not just saying that because I'm on the show. I do believe that he's a guy that they'll very much consider. But yeah, if Taylor Hendricks winds up going to the Magic, getting drafted, I imagine that would spark a very significant relationship between the two. But even outside of Taylor, I mean, I do think that the move for them to the Big 12, that alone could maybe spark a better profile. Maybe, it would honestly just be cool to see, just I guess like UCF guys being invited to games. I don't know if that's happened before. I'm sure it has, but just seeing that kind of interaction alone would be significant. I know, I forget which college team it was. I don't even want to say it. I think I know which one it was, but I'm not going to say it. I know college teams come to NBA games all the time, especially when they're traveling for tournaments or whatever it may be. So yeah, it would be great just to see UCF come to get the invitation to come to a game, just to get that interaction. And then I know, at least Magic players, I know they use UCF's campus or other players, for summer runs or whatever it may be. So that, interaction, mentorship, those are just ways to have a better spark as well.
You've talked about Taylor's strengths. What's the knock on his game? What maybe he drops a couple of spots in this draft, and it'd be because of what?
Yeah, I think the areas of improvement, the most significant ones would be, I guess, like the ball skills. How much is he going to be able to create his own shot just out of isolation, out of nothing, essentially? When you're drafting the top 10, you would like to probably see a little bit more, and non-dunk finishes, just having better touch at the rim, just converting shots at the rim at a higher level when they aren't dunks, so they aren't, in the open floor, or they aren't, they're a little bit more contested. Those are the things that when you're drafting a guy at that level or that high, you probably want to see a little bit more of, from a guy with that, especially at that size.
Kobe, if you were running the Magic, obviously you mentioned 2 picks in the first round, 7 and 11. Would you draft a player at both those, or do you think there's an opportunity for the Magic to package one of those picks and try to free up a superstar, somebody who's out there that's maybe thinking about moving? Bradley Beal's name is out there, Damian Lillard's name is out there. If you were the GM of the Magic, do you take both those picks, or do you try to package for something maybe a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would obviously explore my options just to see, you talk about a guy, those higher level guys like Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard, you have to ask yourself, are we as a team ready in our development to take on players like that? Those are win now moves. And then also, do you want to tie up your cap space to guys who, what is your, especially with a guy like Dame, what's your team going to be like if you made that kind of deal? Obviously, it doesn't seem like Dame's even available. There's everything's from Portland saying that he wants to stay in Portland. But even a guy like Bradley Beal, that would tie up your cap space significantly for the next few years, especially with this new CBA. So I would explore it, but I would also feel comfortable taking, 2 new guys at 6 and 11. And maybe you get different positional versatility. Maybe you draft a wing at one spot, a big at another spot, or a guard at one spot, just so you can have a little bit of, there can still be pathways for playing time. But I don't think, with the options the Magic should have, I think there's very few ways that they can make a wrong choice or wrong decision. It's just about what direction you want the team to go and how much do you want to continue to build the team organically, or do you kind of want to jumpstart things or have a little ignition to get further quicker. But everything they've said up to this point is they're going to take the patient approach. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took 2 guys at those spots.
Kobe, I like to think the Magic are one of the young, exciting franchises coming in, to next season. Seasons coming forward just because of the young roster they have in Paolo Banchero and Wendell Carter and Franz Wagner. But Taylor Hendricks or whoever they pick next, how will it elevate the Magic going into future seasons? Is this going to be the draft that kind of defines the team going forward, to kind of build a dynasty, I guess you could say, because of their young core? Or will they kind of need more time to?
I think this draft, getting, especially guys like Franz and Paolo back-to-back drafts, it's hard to say you can define your future bigger than those kind of moves. But I think with this draft, it kind of solidify the core or solidify your foundation just a little bit better, especially, with contracts and everything that goes on. I think just having a little bit more consistency with your depth can help push you to a different level. You see it with the team like the Denver Nuggets who just won a championship. They drafted, Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Michael Porter Jr., but then also being able to have the guys to make moves for a guy like Aaron Gordon, a former Magic player, or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Those are, drafting the players and eventually make moves, or they develop into the kind of players to solidify things. That's kind of where I see the Magic right now. And, if they, with the trajectory they're on, they probably, they may not be this high again in the draft lottery. So this may be, one of the last opportunities for a while to get these quality of talents.
Get you out of here on a couple of rapid fire questions. How high could Taylor Hendricks go in this draft?
How high? The Magic are 6. I would start. I think his range starts with the Magic at 6. So I misspoke earlier when I said 7th. It is 6th. Will they take him at 6? I'm inclined to believe not. Yeah, as of right now, I would say probably not. But
They take him at 11 though.
it, if he's at 11, then I think they definitely would. I think his range is somewhere between 6 to 10. But yeah, if he's available at 11, I would have a hard time seeing the Magic pass him up.
Future bright for Taylor Hendricks as well. You not going to be on the beat much longer, right? You're heading to cover another NBA team. Tell us about that before we let you out of here.
Yeah, going to cover the Los Angeles Lakers for the Southern California News Group starting June 27th. So just a week and a half.
Well, congratulations to you. We appreciate the insight on Taylor Hendricks and the Magic. And thanks for being with us on Sons of UCF Live.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys for having me on.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Adam, Leo on the spot now. Taylor Hendricks. Magic? No. Kobe's not so sure about that. Do you think he stays local?
I don't. I have him. I think Utah's picking like 9. I have him 9 at Utah.
Yikes. I mean, for me, I think it makes so much sense for him to just stay local. I don't think they'll go. I think it's a reach at 6. But at 11, man, I'd say take him at 11 if you can. I would love for him. Yeah, I would love for him to stay in Orlando though. That's for sure. But Taylor is a guy that I think all NBA teams could use. I don't think anybody could kind of be picky on Taylor. So
yeah, if he's at 11, Trace, I mean, Orlando's got to pick him at that point. Right? Yeah. If he falls that far, I mean, that's got to be a pick at 11.
I think Adam. I think Leo is saying he ends up with the Magic. Hey, can we get some credentials to the Magic to cover Taylor
That's exactly what I'm trying to
say. I'm in. What do we got to do? I'm in. We got shirts now, Trace. We're ready to go.
Well, it's going to be good news for Taylor Hendricks and the UCF basketball brand just 1 week, and we'll be on live with the NBA draft. So still working out how we're going to go about covering that, but it's going to be fun next Thursday night for the NBA draft. We don't get to do this with Sons of UCF Live or UCF basketball, so it's going to be fun. Fun earlier this week, a little back and forth on who might land here, but former Knight baseball player, assistant coach Rich Wallace, he is back home and the next head coach of the UCF Knights. He was here during a very big stretch of time in which UCF was a player in college baseball, and that's fallen off over the last few years. And he intends to get it back and just talked about what's been different since that time when he was a Knight.
When you watch from afar, what's been the missing thing the last 20 years that it hasn't gone from where it was when you were here?
Well, I think they were close. Like, we were close a bunch of times, one pitcher short. It's getting enough depth on the mound that you can make the runs in the NCAA tournament or the conference tournament, or when the games become the games. We have to get a little more dynamic athletically.
And his official announcement of assistant coaches has not come out. However, Norberto Lopez, the recruiting coordinator, most recently in Miami, makes his bio UCF Twitter official by mentioning his new role with the Knights. Adam, when you heard the name, what'd you think? There was that flirtation there, those rumors with Joe Girardi. I got the Cubs on right now. He's in the studio tonight covering the Cubs where he once played. So what do you think? Rich Wallace, good fit for the Knights?
Yeah, look, I certainly am not one who followed UCF baseball very closely for the past 20, 25 years. So the name obviously was familiar to me. I'd known of his success in the coaching ranks at Jacksonville, Notre Dame, Florida State. But, and we say this all the time, Trace, he won me over at that press conference when he talked about being home, how important it was for him to be in Orlando, how much the Knight community meant to him. And then I know you were there. It was actually broadcast live on ESPN Plus, which was a nice little perk. And they pan to the back and you see a bunch of his former teammates, one of whom is about to join us here in a few minutes. You saw a bunch of his former teammates in the back, cheering, clapping. I've talked to a few of his teammates, via text, and the amount of folks who are happy about this, the amount of folks who supported this, that won me over. Again, I'm not going to pretend I know his entire baseball history, that I followed his career at UCF really closely, but he looked like a guy who wants to be in Orlando wearing the black and gold. His teammates that were there supported that. So this is one that I know we often say win the press conference. He won me over at the press conference, and I'm really excited about the hire in the future of UCF baseball.
Leo, what about you? Did you like this hire?
Yeah, I mean, I was over the moon when I heard it was official because I was looking at the links, with obviously Girardi. I didn't want those links to kind of like become true just because, I kind of know the background with Girardi, and it's just probably not the best for the program. So when Rich Wallace actually came to fruition, it made a lot of sense. His resume is really what pops out to me. I just love how he has a lot of recruiting experience, from Notre Dame, Jacksonville, and even now, when he was at Florida State. That is huge. Like, recruiting is so important, and I think that he's going to be great recruiter. So, yeah.
Well, let's hear from a former UCF baseball player. More importantly, a 2015 UCF Athletics Hall of Famer. We don't get Hall of Famers around these parts too often. He is D. Brown, the dual sport athlete, baseball, football. D, welcome into Sons of UCF Live.
Good evening, guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Great.
UCF Lauren, it just scrolled across the screen. She said she got misty-eyed seeing all those former players coming out to support Coach Wallace, now the new head baseball coach at UCF. When you heard his name in the mix for this and then being official, what was your reaction?
I was excited. Me and Rich are really close, but I was excited because I know the hard work and dedication that he's put in to get to this point, and every move that he's made is literally for the day that happened on Monday. So that's why I was excited. But like I heard earlier, more importantly, if you take the name and its alumni of UCF out of it and look at the resume, we got the right coach. And that's the part that I'm excited about.
Yeah, D, tell us about Rich as a coach. What do you think UCF's getting with him now as our head baseball coach?
You're getting a guy that knows baseball. Obviously, he's helped me in my career when I first got to UCF when it comes to skill set, when it comes to just working with fundamentals. But you're getting a recruiter that's going to go out and win the war and keep the schools that may not reside in the state of Florida out of it and get the kids that we need to get.
How is Rich as a player, his background as a player? Obviously, for us students or new, that didn't get a chance to watch him play, that's something that stood out about his game that he's going to bring onto
Rich, when I got to UCF, Rich was coming off an injury, but he still was putting up stats. I watched him the previous years, and as you see, he led the team in hitting as a freshman. I think he was hitting 380 or a number like that until he got hurt. So that shows you, even in the ASUN, and the ASUN, a lot of people don't understand, the ASUN was the top 5 or 6 conference when we were playing in it back then, even though you may not recognize a lot of the names in there.
Well, you could tell how much he loves college baseball in particular. He talked about it in the post-game media session, just his love for the game and how much baseball means to his family, right? His daughters are named Easton and Max. What's he like as a person? You could tell how important family was to him and how he's ready to make these UCF players that are going to be on his roster part of his family.
I think UCF got a gem, not only just on the field, but off the field. I've watched him develop not just baseball players, but when players are finished, he's working to find them jobs. You know what I mean? Heck, I'm one person that I know he helped me get a job when I first got out, right? I know there's countless other players that are teammates or players of himself that he's helped mentor, get jobs, coaching jobs, or just regular professions. So UCF is getting someone that's not just a great baseball coach and is going to recruit his butt off. I think he's also going to make sure he's creating great men.
D, why was it important for you and your teammates to be at the press conference? I'm sure you had a lot of things to do Monday at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, right? Why was it important for you and your teammates to show up and be there for Rich's press conference?
That shows you even after 20 years of playing with somebody that he still, even in the long days of college baseball, he stays in touch with his friends. And I would consider Rich a friend. We obviously talk often. Talk about different baseball things, what's going on, obviously career moves. And I knew I wasn't going to miss it. He's getting his dream job. I wanted to be there just to enjoy the moment.
D, you're talking about recruiting battles, and especially here in the state of Florida. How important do you think that, hiring Norberto Lopez from Miami, coming here is going to be a, big time move for him, coming to UCF and making UCF kind of like a cornerstone baseball program here in the state of Florida?
We have the talent in the backyard. We just have to go out there and fight and win it. We have to win those battles. I think it's important that we're getting guys that have a history of recruiting. And ultimately, I sometimes I feel like that's a little bit more important than the head coach at certain teams. When you look at the old Bobby Bowden teams, we're talking football now, but there's a rumor back in the days that they say Bobby Bowden headphones used to even not be plugged up, but it was more about the recruiting and getting players in the system, and they won games. And I think that has a lot to do with baseball as well.
You know, a good Bobby Bowden quote is when he talked about his secret to success recruiting. He said having a good stomach because he's been in many a kitchen with a mama making a pie or a pot roast, and he smiled and ate all of it. And that was the key for him. Take us back. You know, with UCF and the success in football, there are a lot of new fans, 2017 to the present, right? But take us back on this campus 20 years ago. Baseball was really the crown jewel in the sports landscape at UCF.
Yeah, I saw both sides. So I saw the really talented football teams, but we couldn't win a game. We just didn't have the depth. So, I mean, a lot of the games we were in it, in the first 2 quarters, and by the end of the third, it's a blowout, right? So I understand that when it comes to baseball, we're in top 25 almost every year. We competed. We went out and got baseball players, not a lot of big names, but the big talented guys, you know what I mean? And we just played together. When I look at my four teams, we were ranked at some point in the season top 25, winning ball games, competing against the big conferences, not stepping down from it, really rising to the challenge.
Well, I asked Coach this in the post presser. What's been missing these last 20 years? And he said, well, UCF's been close. From your vantage, as you've watched the program, what's been the missing element? Why didn't it continue to build from when you were there?
I mean, we've been right there in some years. In a lot of years, I feel like I feel like injury. I mean, when you look at teams, you look at talent, you look at other schools coming to get our talent. So we have the talent. I mean, it's just putting it all together at the same time. You know what I mean? One that comes with recruiting, I feel like, just me personally, because if a guy gets hurt, we got to have somebody to come in and be able to fill that shoe. We don't know when the injury is going to happen, but somebody's got to pick it up and keep it moving. So I think that's why recruiting is going to be huge, because you have to have multiple guys when it comes to depth.
All right, D, I get to ask you the most obvious question. As our friend Dolly Drama points out, obviously you starred on both the football field and the baseball field. John Rice Plumlee this spring obviously did both as well, being in spring football and baseball. As somebody who's done both of those sports at a really high level, can you put in perspective what you thought of what John Rice was able to accomplish, this spring, juggling both being a starting center fielder on the baseball team and QB1 on the football team?
Impressive. I mean, the guy is built like a machine. I'll give you a little insight. When I played football there, one of the reasons I went to UCF because I didn't want to do spring football and I didn't do fall baseball. So what he did doing both is extremely impressive when it comes to spring football and baseball.
D, do you think the injuries kind of, is it just kind of like a misfortune thing, or is it something that needs to be addressed, like with the trainers and
no, I don't think it's internal. I think that's just something. When you look at even when you look at the last year's team, when you look at the talent level's there, and then you have a guy go out, right? I don't think that's coach related. I don't think, obviously it's a business, so things happen. Obviously, if we don't win, the top usually feels the punch, right? So, but at the end of the day, I think injuries happen. That's just part of the game. I think where maybe we fell short in general, when I just look at baseball, is the depth, right? Everybody in the country can say they've had injuries, but at the end of the day, I feel like we really have to dig down into that recruiting depth and build it. It's no different than football. Our linebacker go out, we got to find somebody. Can't just throw it up. You know what I mean?
A great storyline with Coach Wallace is not only, he was an assistant coach there for a stretch. He's come back home to be the head coach, and that just really hasn't happened in UCF's history. What does that mean to you to see a guy who played on that field now get to lead another group of young men?
You just know that the letters on the front of the shirt is always going to be played for. I know a lot of times we're trying to put the name on the back, which I truly respect and I appreciate, because obviously we put all that work in to get our names on the back of a jersey, right? But ultimately, in the days of NIL and all the social media, sometimes we lose the names on the front. And I feel like with a guy like Rich, he's going to get a bunch of guys that's going to play for the UCF on the front. And I think that's going to be a big difference when it comes to, not saying other coaches haven't, but we also know that if he wins, he's not looking for the next job, right? We know that.
Well, D, you mentioned it's a new day in college athletics. What are your thoughts on NIL and transfer portal? Obviously, those are two terms that are now ingrained in college sports fans. I can't imagine what you would do in NIL back in your day. I mean, you probably would have cleaned up.
I took all the money I can take. No,
what are your thoughts on NIL and the transfer portal and what that's done in college sports?
I love it. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to be an old timer, so I don't. I love it. I think as long as you can balance both, go out and get the money that you deserve, right? The flip side of that with coaches, it makes it a lot more difficult. And that's why recruiting and developing that depth, because you don't know when your shortstop or your starting pitcher is going to leave. You got to be able to have another guy that's ready to go, right? And I think that's why Rich Wallace will be a very successful pick for UCF if he can develop that pipeline of Central Florida and the I-4 corridor. Guys are going to leave that we can't afford. We understand that. But at the end of the day, if we have that depth, I'm not saying I'm not going to miss an All-American shortstop freshman, but we got to have a baseball player that can come in and put numbers up, right?
D, do you have any advice for the current players to kind of build a great relationship with Coach Rich and, what they should expect from him and, and vice versa, what he should expect from the players?
I mean, I can only speak from experience is that trust the man, right? Trust the man that he is proofs in the pudding for 20 years. He's developed. He's won at all levels, no matter if you're looking at JU, if you're looking at Creighton, you're looking at Notre Dame with the recruiting restrictions of getting a normal baseball player like myself in, I would have got turned away back in the day, right? Like, oh, let's see your transcript. But he's also winning at those levels. And I don't see that changing at UCF. So I would recommend to them just dig in and pick his brain and learn from him. He's bringing in an incredible staff. I mean, we all can grow, learn something, and get better.
We'll wrap you on this one. You mentioned the ASUN, which UCF baseball was a part of, right? And now 2 weeks or so away from the Big 12. What does that mean to you to see over this 20 years since you played where the university and where its athletic program is now?
For UCF, I think it's big. I mean, for baseball, to me, baseball is baseball. So I won't highlight that part. But for the university, I think it's huge. When I first got there, we're independent. Then we went to the MAC. Then we in football and baseball, we were ASUN. So I mean, the difference of talent is going to be huge, I believe. In this day and age, with the NIL days. But in the interim, I just think that baseball is baseball. You go out there and you develop a monster team and you win. But for the fans, I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be more important for the fans in the financial side aspect of the university. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I got one more for you. We've been way too nice to Coach Wallace. Tell me, do you have an embarrassing story about him? Does he have a nickname that he doesn't like? You got to give me something embarrassing here.
I don't, because he's the only human being that I've met that knew exactly what he wanted to do when he got to college. So that's one thing that I respect about him, because when I got there, I'm like, I don't know, I'm here to play sports. He knew he wanted to be a coach. Every step that he made from the time he stepped on campus to now was for this job today. And I don't say that to be cliche, but I'm being very transparent. So for him, if you ask about other teammates, we got plenty. But for him, he was always, hey, this is my next step, right? That was just him.
That's really cool.
Adam, I think we got to have D back on for a segment on sharing stories about his former teammates. I think there's some stories there. D Brown, 2015 UCF Athletics Hall of Famer. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us and talking about Coach Wallace and some of your memories from your time at UCF. You're one of the great ones in UCF history.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
right,
Thank you, D.
All right. Athletics Hall of Famer. Good question there, Adam. He
we
played both.
We are way too nice.
Yeah.
There had to be something there, Trace.
Sometimes, Adam, we can be the friendly media. Come on now. Okay.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Ironic.
Factual and friendly. That's what we can be here. Mentioned the hiring soon to be announced, no doubt, of Norberto Lopez, recruiting coordinator recently at University of Miami, now coming to UCF baseball. Going around the kingdom a little bit more, Ben McCabe earned second All-American nod, National Collegiate Baseball All-American third team. Congratulations to him. And hey, Leo, you're back just in time. I know this is why you finally came back. Big block party, Burger U with Brits Bunch and some others on July 1st to celebrate UCF in the Big 12. Adam, going to be some polo shirts out there. You giving those away? You selling them? What are you doing?
None of the above. Maybe some hats, and I think I can't confirm this just yet.
No shirts.
Well, I mean, I'm
declining.
I will wear a shirt. No, I think, and I don't want to set expectations too high. I think this may be the second edition of Bouncing with Leo. Ooh. So if you all saw the original Bouncing with Leo, this may be
on that one.
This may be version 2. So if you're out there and you want to be a part of Bouncing with Leo, Dolly Drama, I'm looking at you. This could be your opportunity. Round 2, Bouncing with Leo.
Leo, where'd you get your mic, by the way? I saw a comment about Trump.
Oh, yeah. So I got this. So funny thing is,
he looks down at it and he's not talking.
Yeah, I know. Funny thing is, I've been using this mic. I've had this mic for the longest. It's just today I figured out how to actually talk through it, because this whole time I've been talking through the computer, but I connected my JLab mic finally.
That sounds like the early days of me doing the show, Leo.
The difference in sound, you guys can probably tell. Maybe, I don't know, but
yeah, you sound much more gravelly and nasally than you.
Oh yeah, maybe my flu. But
another reason that Leo, no doubt, watched every week live from Italy in the middle of whatever time that is. But I know, Leo, you missed Brian W. Peterson. Let's roll that tape.
It's back by popular demand. It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
Every time. There's every
Fresh
time.
off an appearance at the Hall of Presidents out at the Mouse House. It's Brian W. Peterson. And we've got another friend to the show, Robert, with a little walk and talk question.
Oh, we do? Oh, wow. Look at that.
Oh.
Hey, Adam. Hey, Trace. Hey, Mike. Maybe. Anyway, thinking about the new head baseball coach, and I got a question. What metric do we use to decide if he is successful at UCF? And how long do we give him to achieve that success? Less or more time than his predecessor? Thanks. Go Knights. Charge on.
Starring in the role of Mike, Leo.
I mean,
it's a great series of questions. We got a number of questions. Let's talk about all the baseball questions at one time at the JC Morning. Now that we have a baseball coach, well, we ought to stop the bleeding. What are your thoughts on Coach Wallace? Emptiness, Michael, thoughts on Rich Wallace? Lonely B UCF, always with a funny one. Is Coach Wallace going to bring back the good bats, or is he an unserious coach? All right, so you got that's your group of baseball questions. Good one though. I think what D. Brown said, this was his dream job, right? He cares about those letters on the front, and he's going to want to succeed here. He isn't going to use this as a stepping stone to another job. But 7 years with Greg Lovelady and going into a tough conference, there's a demanding portion of the fan base that wants to see results now. I think that transition to the Big 12 may be challenging, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure which question I'm answering here. I think, again, I like the hire. I think, D. Brown said it perfectly. This is his dream job. He wants to be here. It's kind of what we saw with Darren Hinshaw on the football side, someone who's really passionate about UCF. Sign me up for somebody like that any day of the week. His metric is going to be wins. I mean, I think for everything you want to say about Greg Lovelady and what may or may not have gone on, I think ultimately it's results on the field that ended up, being the deciding factor for Greg not coming back to UCF. So I think wins will be the metric. Does he get more or less years? Who knows, right? I mean, what Lovelady got 7. I mean, I don't think this is a 2-year and out coach. I mean, my hope is, if I'm hearing D. Brown correctly, this is a coach that wants to be here, and hopefully we'll set up roots. We'll start to build the program. Is it going to happen overnight? Probably not. Are we going to win the College World Series next year? Probably not. But can we set ourselves up in 3-5 years to be a successful player? I think that's sort of the goal. And my suspicion is that he'll get the window of time to do that. So I think wins are where I'm at with it. And again, the fact that this guy loves UCF and wants to be here, sign me up for that every day of the week versus somebody who maybe, like a Girardi, for instance, who maybe has this as kind of a flyover job.
I mean, for me, it's got to be, I mean, at least for my metric is wins are definitely important. And obviously that's what's going to take you into, maybe a regional or deep into conference play and being regular season conference champions. But if you're making regionals consistently, I think that's definitely has to be the priority.
I don't think Sienna is going to be on the schedule anymore.
Just so everyone's that's actually UCF Mike comment
Okay,
on the
yeah,
show.
I was a little
That's not me. That's
that
UCF
one.
Mike. But also, if you couldn't tell that just by the comment alone.
Yeah, but yeah, for me, regionals, making it consistently, and as far as the time in the window that he deserves, it's got to be more than Coach Lovelady, just because we're going into we're taking a step up in competition, and he just looks like a guy that deserves more than his predecessor.
But again, that was 7 years. You saw UCF Realist comment on there.
Yes.
2 years of transition. Let's see some results by year 3. I don't know that he's got 7 years to take him to an NCAA region, so.
Oh, no, and I have no doubt that he will. That's the thing. I have no doubt that Coach Wallace will take this program to a regional in that time. Like, I might be a little bold. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think he will take him.
All right, James has demanded a football question. At Zeebel's UCF, random tweet that he chooses to believe reports UCF football travel almost 9,000 miles a season. Remember, there's the road trip to Boise, 2 trips to Kansas, Oklahoma, and Lubbock. Okay, so you can see how it all adds up. Not exactly news. Ames is far away from everything, but could constant travel have a bigger effect than most of us are thinking? I don't know about it in football, but maybe in some other sports, especially when you start to add BYU to the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly extra miles on the body isn't great, and so there's probably a little bit, but I think the other element to think about is the cost. What's the cost for the athletics department to schlep schools back and forth across the country? But certainly, extra miles on the body never helps out. But I mean, teams travel all the time and win games. I would hope that we can do the same.
Leo.
What was the question again?
Well, you fit right into the UCF Mike slot here. We'll move on to Spursy night. How great is it to have an elite recruiter like Gus? Couple of booms this week. Of course, a long time yet, as Mike likes to say, before they're actually on campus and in a UCF uniform. But been a good week on the recruiting front for Gus. How good to have UCF in the mix for these guys, Leo?
I mean, for me, what Gus has done in the last month, I would say, just in terms of getting those booms. I've been away for a while now, but I've been
really we had
I've been keeping there. If there's one thing I've been keeping track of, is definitely the booms and who are getting in, because that just that's just important for the football program moving forward. And I think that's what we could get excited about in the offseason, because there's really nothing else going on. But to hold us over, recruiting and having these guys come in, it means everything for this football program. And it actually does put Gus Malzahn in the scope of, being an elite recruiter. I mean, he did a great job at Auburn, I would say. And going into the Big 12, transitioning with UCF, I think he's going to make a splash. And I also think that the Kingdom NIL and all this, I think he's really, really, hounded down with Sean, and making sure that that they're getting the players that they want and need to make sure that this football program is successful. So,
all right, another one, Leo, at Patrick Nurse FTW. Over under number of booms between now and the start of fall 2023, 11 weeks away from the home opener. Over under number of booms.
Over under, I say, man, five booms. Five booms.
5 are over under on conference.
That's the thing. We need a number to do the over. We need a number to do the over under.
Yeah.
If you give me 5.5, I'll take the over, Trace. I think I'm gonna go with Dolly. I'm gonna do positivity here. Serious sonic booms coming. I'm gonna go over 5.5.
Brian W. Peterson, Adam, is Gus actually the person tweeting from his account?
All right, I can tell a story, Trace. You were
Set
here.
that story up for you.
You were here with during this as well. So Trace and I are out at the Varsity Knights Alumni Golf Tournament, and we are literally hanging out, and I'll put that in air quotes, with Gus Malzahn and a couple other folks. We were following them as they're on the golf course, taking some, conversation, having some pictures. And so we're off on a side while they're teeing off on a golf cart. I don't think he was teeing off. I think at that point, Will Healy was teeing off. I look at my phone and I see 1 minute ago, Gus Malzahn boom tweet. He was right in front of me 1 minute prior to that without a phone in his hand. So somebody else tweeted that boom. This was his name escapes me. I think it was Patterson, who committed from Middle Tennessee. But Gus didn't have a phone in his hand. So somebody else tweeted out that boom. I'm not saying everybody does, but on that particular day, I didn't see a Gus phone in his hand. So somebody tweeted that boom.
Interesting. At Noslo LW, a combined question asking about the impact on the change in wide receiver coaches from Wyatt to Hurd last year. And I don't know that we can answer these questions with knowledge, but some of the theories in these questions are interesting. Did it seem to have an impact on productivity of the receivers? Is that due to coaching style, mindset, drills, Plumlee's throwing? What do you think? I think it's a combination of things, right? I think you want to blame the quarterback for everything, but those wide receivers have got to get some separation too and got to help their quarterback. Gentlemen.
For me?
Anybody.
Go get him, Leo.
All I got to say is,
I wasn't listening to that one, so that's you.
No, all I got to say is for creating separation, if Coach Hinshaw actually wants to, have this vertical passing game become a threat, there's no doubt that they do. And I mean, you also have to kind of offset the vertical passing game too. You're going to have to throw short too. So that's actually kind of one of the harder routes to create separation is, those short, medium routes, but because you have less time. So for me, that's a priority for the wide receivers. And I don't know if they did, I would say a great job of doing that last year, but here and there they had their time, but.
Okay. Adam. Hey, Adam, you there?
Don't quite know the question, Trace.
I'm asking you a new question. At Cap Beach 1, is it
okay?
More
Well,
or
can
less
we hold
likely?
on? Yeah. Can we answer my question? There's a debate going on in the chat of whether or not Gus Malzahn can schedule his own tweets. I think there's no chance Gus Malzahn schedules his tweets.
No.
But some people think that it's possible. Matt Dolan thinking that GOL has a better. Do we think Gus can schedule his own tweets?
If the question is Gus or George O'Leary, I like Gus's chances a little bit better than Coach O'Leary.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Yeah, this just goes to show you how many things Adam is involved in during the show.
Just not a lot going on.
But here, this one for you, Adam. At Cap Beach 1, is it more or less likely for UCF to have home night games in the Big 12, and why?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it's going to be afternoon games. I think that's just the way the Big 12 schedule breaks out. I don't know that they have a ton of primetime slots available, especially on the Fox windows. So I'm going to say these are going to be more daytime, mid-afternoon games.
Leo at blackgold_ed. UCF baseball goes to a College World Series or the Lazy River is built. Which happens first?
College World Series.
You're doubtful of the Lazy River.
Wow.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge believer in Coach Wallace. But just the
but
fact
not
that,
as much in the Lazy River.
I have zero belief for the Lazy River. It's been 5 years now since the rendering and.
Steel drum bands and Danny White. You can still find a little sand out in the parking lot.
Yeah,
beach sand.
Let's be real here.
All right, and this one I think has the makings of a Mike top 12, but there'd be just 7 answers. Strength of spear. Has anyone figured out what's in the Big 12 box? What's going to be in the Big 12 box?
What's in so Trace? This is where you have to set up the "What's in the box" clip next time from.
No, that's a family show. We're not doing that.
Fair. I have no idea, but I like every idiot out there. I also ordered one, so as soon as a Big 12 box arrives at my doorstep, I'll be the first to share with everybody. There was at least a hat I saw, right? So at least one hat is involved in the Big 12 box. I think I saw they released another 250. So that exclusive 500 is gone, but I think 250 is back in circulation. So
what was the donation for this? $12? $12?
Somewhat more significant than that.
What about some sort of Instagram video or something where you open the box and show us what's inside?
I agree.
You want me to do that?
Yeah,
I want you to do that.
was 120. Lauren
120
says
for
she
the
has a
box.
120
list.
for the
Yeah.
box.
Lauren says she has a list.
Oh, Lauren, drop
Um,
one. What's in it? What's in the box?
Yeah, I already
Lauren.
told you that.
Hat? Well, no, something besides a hat. What else?
I don't know. I have to wait now.
Leftover ducks from previous Spirit Splashes. All right, finally, Circus Sports out with some early lines. You can never talk about lines in games too soon. Mike, hey, I'm not talking about watch lists. Lines should be okay, right? 77 days away. UCF favored by 35 over Kent State. You laying that 35, Adam?
Take the over.
Yikes. I might not. I'm not doing it. I'm not taking the over on 35.
Not taking the
Collapsible
over.
cups.
Collapsible cup.
Pins.
Pins. Is this just
Sunglasses.
random? This is random. Or we don't know. These are things you know.
Listen,
Patrick,
nope.
is that-
Dolly Drama is a reputable source. So if he's going to tell me collapsible cups, which seems like it's not a good design thing, by the way, but pins, sunglasses, and Lauren has no time to go check for us. So that's where we are currently with the.
What about, Adam,
the
you
box.
open the box and you get your kids as part of the video where they review whether they think it's an acceptable item to be in the Big 12 box. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I mean, I'm in on that. I don't think do you think my kids are cute enough to pull that off? I don't know.
I think your kids are stars of the show. I think you need to have them on more. You know, I'm a big fan of your daughter. She's spot on.
You want me to bring her in? She's probably in the next room. I know you guys are,
We've patched up all differences as we get 77 days before the start of a football season. We're good.
I deleted
right?
that.
We're good.
I don't have time to get the clip, Trace, but
No,
yes.
we don't need the clip.
I know you don't. I know you're really
We
mad
don't-
at the clip.
Yeah, we don't
I
need the
know.
clip.
I know.
But I'm just saying we're good. We're good. And I think you need to involve her in that assessment of the Big 12 box. All right. So what do we next week? NBA draft. We'll go on head to head with that. Let's program this a little bit. I think we should stay on till Taylor is drafted. But what's the start time of this draft? How long does it go? When would we see picks 6 through 10?
It's a lot of questions. I think it starts at 8. Probably the first
Yeah.
pick's not till like 8:10 or 8:15 by the time they introduce everybody. I think it's a 5-minute per pick situation
We
there.
got a good chance here.
So I was never really good at math, so you can take it from there.
So you think within that hour, it's a pretty good chance.
I think picks
Yeah.
6 to 7, 8, 9. I think that's the window. So you're probably looking at that hour, a little over an hour situation.
So we should stay on during that, and you should join us for part of that conversation that night. So I think that's a good idea. Leo, welcome back. Did we run out of time for Leo's vacation photos?
Next
It's
week.
too much. But
Next week.
yeah, next week. It's a lot of cover. So
Leo, welcome back. I want to thank Kobe Price, beat writer for the Orlando Magic at the Orlando Sentinel, and D. Brown, the Athletics Hall of Famer, sharing a little of his insights on Rich Wallace. Adam, Leo, it's been great to have you and all of you watching for Sons of UCF Live. I'm Trace Strelko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
This is Taylor Hendricks, and thank you for watching the Sons of UCF.